We are off and running. It is game week, and I like saying that. Some changes, some expectations that didn't get met today as we started the week. Matt Derrick's here from ChiefsDigest.com on the Chiefs beat to tell us what is going on. We're going to get into it all today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Yes, it is the Jacksonville Jaguars in the Chiefs sights. Their preparations begin today. We're going to go through it all with Matt Derrick, the editor of ChiefsDigest.com, your man on the Chiefs beat. Now, got to tell you that we are brought to you today by PrizePicks. Check them out. You can get a great discount using the Locked On code. That's a 100% discount or 100% deposit bonus. That's what you want to get. Thanks for making us your first listen here at the Locked On Podcast Network. We get your team every day. You might as well try another team or another show, like maybe the draft show. Yours truly will be on that every day, so check that out as well. Thanks for being here. I'm Ryan Tracy. You guys know me, founder of Rogue Analytics, NFL 33, and RGR Football. We have to start, I think, with expectation not being met, and that's kind of how I see it, really, Matt. And we had hoped that we'd see Mecole Hardman out on the practice field as practice preparations began this week. Didn't happen. And Andy, I thought, was refreshingly honest about the fact we need to back off of him because the injury isn't responding. Is it more than that? Is this significant enough that we might not see Mecole Hardman in this postseason?
I mean, it's entirely possible, although the light that Andy Reid cast on it today certainly suggested that he thinks it's more likely than not he can get back onto the field. But yeah, this has been something that has just continued to not progress the way that they expected. And as open as Andy was today with discussing it, there still hasn't been a lot of transparency from the club about exactly what we're dealing with here. You know, they initially described this as an abdomen injury, and we were, at least the suggestion was that it was a little bit more medical than it was physical as far as an injury of some sort. Now it's describing it as he had a little bit of a tweak in his hamstring and it was some soreness there. And then now it's described as a pelvis injury. So it's pretty opaque as far as, what exactly the nature of the injury is, what's the setback and what he's dealing with. But yeah, the message from Andy today was that it's just not where either Mecole wants to be or the team wants him to be. They're not comfortable with him where he's at right now as far as pushing forward. So yeah, I mean, he is, by all indications, probably won't play this week. I mean, isn't practicing right now, probably won't play on Saturday. Then the question becomes, if the Chiefs do continue winning, is the AFC Championship game or a Super Bowl still likely? As long as the Chiefs don't make a roster move, and they didn't make a roster move with him on Tuesday, as long as it doesn't happen, the door is absolutely still open for Mecole to return.
This reminds me of that old game with the tweezers that you had to try to take out bones and organs and stuff, and you get buzzed if you don't. That generally makes me nervous. But like you said, if you don't make a move, then you have to anticipate that there's going to be an option. The question for me is, the door was open, the window for practice. What are the ramifications of not getting back onto the active roster? Onto the 53 right now in terms of a game day. Is there any repercussions to just carry Mecole Hardman, or what are the roster moves here?
I mean, really, the only thing that it's costing you at this point is, the roster spot that Mecole is taking up. He's on the 53, so he's right there. It's just a matter now if you need that roster spot. I mean, you have the luxury now today with being able to elevate two guys from the practice squad. So you don't have the crunch that you once did. I mean, you can still have, a 48 player roster. You have the luxury, but the only problem is that if you get more injuries, then that becomes a bit more of a question. And, the Chiefs right now, I mean, Mecole Hardman, I would probably describe as a luxury. The way that they've been playing offensively, the fact that they've got Kadarius Toney back, the fact that Sky Moore was a full participant with the hand issue on Tuesday, they have a full complement at receiver. So at this point, Mecole is as good as he is. And especially the way the Chiefs have been playing, like I said, it's a luxury to be able to have that. They've got what they need. They've been playing well without him. So it's not huge, but at some point, yeah, I mean, you'd like to be able to get him back because that just increases your options. It increases your flexibility. And yeah, I mean, if you do get an injury or two and down the road, you'd love to be able to have Mecole Hardman back. And so that's why the Chiefs are keeping the door open. The question is just, is the injury in his body going to allow him to get back?
Yeah, and that's the question for me too. I am a little bit concerned. I had hoped to see L'Jarius Sneed not be on this report. He was a full participant, as was Sky Moore. Is this protocol that I'm missing that they need to be on there because they finished the last week they were active on the list? Is that what it comes down to?
Not really. I mean, the protocol too is essentially that, hey, if a player doesn't participate in his full, practice load, then he's going to be limited. If he doesn't participate at all, I mean, he'll be a do not practice. The fact that they were a full go is a good indication. There's no pro forma about how they have to be on there. It's just if the injury is still lingering. Now, that would be the key to watch the next couple of days, because Tuesday, playoff time, it's an Andy Reid practice. So this was no helmets, no pads, just a quick 10-10-10 practice. Wednesday's practice will be more like a Thursday in-season practice. That's going to be the one that's our harder hitting. It's more intense. That's the one to see, hey, are these guys still limited? Is anybody else, especially, after the time off, bounce back? Does anybody else have a little soreness or anything? That'll be more of a tell for us, is the Wednesday report, when they really get more an impactful practice in.
Yeah, that makes sense. And hopefully we'll see some rounding out there as well. There's always things to be concerned about. But one thing you don't have to be concerned about, folks, is our friends over at Built Bar. They have everything you need. If you need a protein bar that tastes good, you got to get with this, because it's not a candy bar. It's not anything specific that makes you think that it's eating anything more than a nutritious treat that gives you macros and nutrients that you need. And right now, you got to get through it because it's actually healthy and a tasty way to be healthy. They make them so good. These things are like gold, especially around my house. You can't really get away from them, whether it's churro or peanut butter brownie or coconut almond or this one, which is toffee almond, one of my favorites. Don't tell the kids that I have this, but if you don't need to wait, go get a box. Go try it out. You can get them retail now as well from Sam's Club and Walmart. I like ordering them straight from the factory. That goes well. You can get boxes of cookies and cream and double chocolate and coconut puffs. The puffs are really nice as well. They're a great nutritious snack to get you going through the day with the macros that you need. So check them out at builtbar.com. Now, if I was going to add protein to this diet for Kansas City, it would be a lot of red meat this week, because I think there's meat on the bone. We reacted live over on RGR Football to the Jacksonville game. And on further reflection, how do you feel in terms of, was this more that Jacksonville dug themselves a hole and were able to dig out of it? Was it all on them, or was it a little bit of letting off the gas by the Los Angeles Chargers? What's your takeaway a couple days removed?
Yeah, I think it was both. I mean, in the first half, and getting back to look a little more at the first half than I did on Saturday night, since on our live stream, I watched all the second half, but didn't get to watch much of the first half. The first half was a little bit of everything. Yeah, the Chargers played well. Certainly Jaguars had some bad breaks, was part of their problems in that first half. In the second half, it was a different story. I mean, I thought you saw the Jaguars executed very well. But yeah, you saw the Chargers, let their foot up a little bit. I don't think that they had the same intensity in the second half, both offensively and defensively. There's a reason why there's some changes going on in Charger land today. They've got some problems that they've got to figure out, and they were absolutely manifested in that game. But they were, to me, the same problem we've seen with the Chargers all season, that their offense did not live up to its capabilities, and they were able to take advantage of turnovers and short fields in that first half against the Jaguars to really put them in a hole. In the second half, they didn't get as many opportunities. The Jaguars didn't turn the football over, didn't give the Chargers those chances, and the Chargers had nothing to work with. And as a result, I mean, with the way that they've played offensively, I think overall this year, pretty indicative. I mean, Chargers only needed one score in the second half, and they win that game. And they couldn't get it. And I think that was as much on them more than it was on the Jaguars defense as well as the Jaguars played. Chargers had it within themselves to win that game, and they didn't. The compliment to the Jaguars to me is that, they what they lack in talent, I think they do make up for in tenacity and toughness and physicality. And that's key in the playoffs. They may not have as much speed as the Chiefs are going to have, but if they're going to try and out tough the Chiefs, that's the way they can win this game. But the other part of it too, and why I said and all along that I think that Jacksonville was the most dangerous team that the Chiefs could face in this divisional round, is that they're well coached, They've got an up-and-coming quarterback who's got a lot of potential that maybe is just starting to scratch it and tap into it. And they got nothing to lose. This is a team that you saw that with their backs up against the wall against the Chargers played extremely well. And I expect the same thing out of him on Saturday at Arrowhead.
Yeah, that's a real good way to put it. Right now for the Jaguars, this season's already a win for them. They're here. So I think that says a lot. And I didn't think I was going to be able to say this anytime soon, but what I think Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo can learn from Brandon Staley is to keep your foot down. There are not many lessons that I think he's going to teach guys that are that much more experienced than him. But that's the thing against this team in particular. But my question to you, is it enough? We've seen this team hold back and not bury teams and not show your whole playbook or not bring anything out. Is there any reason to hold anything back? This divisional game, you have the AFC Championship in your future, you hope you get to return to the Super Bowl. That's 12 quarters. Is there any reason to keep anything out of these 4 quarters?
Not at all. I mean, to me, this is when you start leaving it all out there, and that's one of the benefits that the Chiefs have had. As far as what they've gotten to this season is that, and I don't mean to say, and I've never meant to say that the Chiefs don't give it their best every single week, but you got a reserve that you can tap into, and the reality of it is that when you get the bullseye on your back, everybody taps into their reserve against you every single week, and I don't want to get into cliche of 110%, but we're going to get there anyway. The Chiefs can give 100% every single week of the regular season, but they're going to get 110 back every single week. Now's the time for the Chiefs to tap into their reserve because they don't do that during the regular season. They don't have to. They're better coached. They're better talent. They got the better quarterback. That's how you go 14-3 in this league. This is what the Chiefs have been playing for. They didn't go through a 17-game regular season to just make the playoffs. I mean, that's where Jacksonville is playing with found money at this point. I mean, they didn't expect to be here. They hoped to be here, but they certainly had no reason to expect to be here, with where they are as a franchise right now, but they're there. The Chiefs expected to be here. So now's when, it's time for them to start putting everything out there. And I was pretty encouraged as far as, talking to the players and coaches on Tuesday. I think you heard the right message. I mean, especially, Patrick Mahomes had an opportunity to talk about maybe some of the unscattered things that the Jacksonville defense might throw at him. And noting that, hey, Mike Caldwell, when he was on the staff in Tampa, did exactly that, they came back and played the Chiefs offense with a completely different game plan than they had done during the regular season. They've got to be prepared for that Jacksonville is going to do things that they haven't done on film, that they didn't play in the earlier game this season, that they're going to attack them differently, and they got to be prepared for that. And the fact that you're hearing that, I think, is a good sign. The other thing, too, is that, hey, the Chiefs players and coaches were just like everybody else. They were watching these playoff games this weekend, and they saw in all 3 AFC games go down to the wire in tough situations. And they don't want to get into a rock fight with the Jaguars. I mean, they know the perils of letting a team hang around and play with you. So I think this certainly seems like a Chiefs team that is ready for this, that if they get the opportunity to put away the Jaguars early, I think they're going to try and do that. And I think Andy knows more than anybody else with Doug Peterson. You get a chance to beat Doug early and keep him out of it. You do it, and you make sure that he can't get back up.
I look forward to that. I'm not betting on it, but if I was, I would go someplace, and a word from our friends over at BetOnline will tell you how to do that because they're the number one source for sports betting, the info, the stats, the news, and all the analysis. Well, we just gave you that. Bet on trying to keep Doug Peterson down. That's your best bet this week. But if you need the odds and all the extra podcasts and all the information around every playoff game that there is, as well as all the other sports that are in competition, you can check that out at betonline.net. You want to be there. If that's what you're into, you can get those podcasts on their own as well. And they're always fast. They're always easy. And they make things easy for you. You just have to head over to their website on any mobile device to learn more at BetOnline, where the game starts. Where the game starts for me is really interesting in terms of it's a quarterback battle. It's weird to say this, but Patrick at 27 years old is the older generation in this particular ball game. And I only bring that up to say that because Trevor Lawrence is supposed to be a generational talent, and that's something that we've talked about quite a bit, this does seem like a little bit of a forewarning here of the future. Is that role something that we should be embracing for Patrick to be the guy who's got the experience, who's been here before? Is there anything to be concerned about, a false sense of security there? Or anything that could jump up and bite them just because of the quarterback battle.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is when you bank on that. You bank on the experience that Patrick Mahomes already has, and that there's not a lot of things that are going to surprise him. And and the other thing too that you talk about in the postseason play is confidence. Uh, Patrick Mahomes has a ton of confidence because he's won a lot of playoff games. That's a benefit. I mean, these are all big experiences, and that's the thing too, is that each step along the way in the postseason, it's a different experience. I mean, for Jacksonville, what they went through in that wild card game, and for all the guys where it was new to, and especially for Trevor, going to Arrowhead is going to be completely different, because as excited as they were, and at times that they were having to tell their own fans, "Hey, quiet down. Hey, we're in the red zone here. We're trying to work. Offense. Hey, quiet down a little bit." It's going to be worse at Arrowhead. I mean, it's going to be louder when they have the ball. I mean, they're going to have their own, dealing with the crowd, dealing with, it's not going to be super cold this weekend, but it's going to be a little chillier in Jacksonville.
Florida.
They're going to have to deal with the pressure. It's going to be a bigger atmosphere and a bigger environment. And the Chiefs have been through that. So that's when you bank on it, to my experience, that you bank on the fact that this team, there's not a situation that they're probably going to encounter that they haven't seen before. They've been in the postseason. They've had deficits in the postseason. They've had leads in the postseason. I mean, they've seen it all. Jacksonville still hasn't, and Jacksonville has certainly not seen what they're going to see this weekend.
Yeah, it's one thing to be here early in the regular season. It's a whole different thing in January. I see that as a thing, and all of you listeners, you can make the difference while you're out there at the stadium. So make sure you remember that. But we can talk about matchups, and I will talk about them on Friday, folks, the preview show with Chris and I. I'll go through all my prime times, but it could be Josh Allen against Orlando Brown. Could obviously be a Kirk versus Young secondary. Does he travel? All these questions. But Matt, if you had to pick the X factor, what is it for you in this ballgame?
Yeah, there's a couple of different pieces that I think could be, but I tell you what, how important Jerick McKinnon has been to this team over the last 5 to 6 weeks, I think is pretty critical. You look at the scoring that he's provided, the punch that he's provided. Can somebody else do that? Yeah, I mean, they can. I mean, maybe it has simply been a case that some of Jerick McKinnon's scoring has been at the cost of Travis Kelce, who hasn't been getting into the end zone of late. But you need those scores. I mean, you need to get into the end zone. And as much as this team has relied on Jerick McKinnon, my question is, if he doesn't have it this week, if the ball's not coming his way, if he's not getting it done, do they still have that confidence? I mean, I think they will. I think that they have the ability to, for other guys to step up. And like I said, maybe Jerick McKinnon has been poaching Travis Kelce's touchdowns. Maybe this team would be scoring anyway. But that's a big guy to me, because, I think that this rate, the way he's playing, the Jaguars need to be paying more attention to him than other teams have. So the question is going to be, hey, if the Jaguars are going to focus on Travis Kelce, which you always should, and you're going to shade a little bit to Jerick McKinnon when he's on the field and pay a little more attention to him, other guys are going to be having a lot of one-on-one matchups, and they got to win those. So to me, it's, hey, if Jerick's going to continue his run and you can ride him, great, do that. But if the Jaguars are going to take him away, other guys got to step up, and that's where Mahomes has got to be ready for the ball to go somewhere else. Other guys have to be ready. Travis has got to be ready. There's going to be opportunities, and they just got to make the most of them.
Those opportunities are going to come at least one particular safety that I'm going to identify on Friday for you all. Make sure you're paying attention to that one. I think, Matt, at the end of the day, it has to be a battle. And as good as these head coaches know each other, it's about disseminating their information to their staffs, to their respective defensive coordinators. I think Spags has a heads up in that part of the equation, because he's the guy that has to go head to head with Doug. And I think Doug's been really creative. And I think if anybody outside of Sean Payton, who we'll see the drama about him last all off season, folks, but outside of Andy and Doug, I don't know that there's two better, more creative guys that can take what the defense gives them and manipulate it. I think that's the big matchup of this game that no one's talking about yet, is the back and forth between the coaching staffs. I still feel the Chiefs have the edge, but how do you see it working out?
Yeah, and that's where, I think if there is a kind of, battle within the battle, and you're talking about, some of the matchups below the head coaching level and beyond the big name level, to me, yeah, it's going to be Steve Spagnuolo against the Jaguars offense and what they do. And because you're still talking about Trevor Lawrence as being a young quarterback and experienced. He's a generational talent. There's probably a lot to still tap in there, but there's still a lot of work to be going on, and he's susceptible to some things. And Steve Spagnuolo runs a complicated defense. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, and the Chiefs are going to do things that are more complicated than what the Chargers did against them on Saturday night. So to me, that's the deal. I mean, you've got to be able to show the Chargers some different looks. You got to take advantage of the corner and the safety blitzes so that Lawrence is getting some pressure from different locations. You saw that, Trevor throws a low ball. There's opportunities to get your hands on it at the line of scrimmage, which the Chiefs are very good at. Take advantage of all of that, because that to me is where the Chiefs have an opportunity for some growth. Because remember they lost the turnover battle against the Jaguars last time around. They can't be doing that in the postseason. I mean, they need to start winning that. And the Chargers showed. I mean, hey, the Jaguars can give up the football if you force them to. Jaguars, as good as they played the other night, they're minus 5 turnovers against the Chiefs. They're not winning that game.
Yeah.
So I would venture to say that even if they were minus 2, they're not winning that game. I mean, this is the time of the postseason. You got to protect the football, and the Chiefs have had trouble, producing some turnovers. But if they can get this team to turn over the football, Chiefs can have an easy win. And that's why I think that there's a lot to put on Steve Spagnuolo and this defense and what they can do against the Jaguars.
I agree. And by the way, folks, I did look it up. Trevor Lawrence, 4th most batted passes in the league this year. That is right for the reaping right there. So, Matt, bottom line, what do you think happens?
I think it'll be a good game. I mean, I would not be surprised at all if the Jaguars scare the Chiefs. I mean, I think that is within the realm of possibility. There's a reason why I thought this would be the toughest challenge for them in the divisional round, because the Jaguars, to me, are the most unpredictable. They can do a lot of things. They have nothing to lose. They can put it all out there. They can roll out all of Doug's bag of tricks, and Doug's got a deep bag of tricks. So the other thing is that, and this is going to sound counterintuitive given what the Jaguars just did, but they're not a high flying comeback team. If you put them down and you need them to be able to score, 21 points in the quarter, I don't see them being able to draw an inside straight flush 2 weeks in a row. And remember, I mean, they weren't exactly running up and down the field against the Chargers. I mean, they were doing it with long, sustained drives, and they just happened to score every single time and get stops. It's not going to. I don't think that can happen against the Chiefs. So I'm not betting. I'm not going to take that because this one's just a little too close to me. But I am still saying the Chiefs will beat the spread. I'm taking the Chiefs 31-17.
I like that one. You can find all the information you need at ChiefsDigest.com, where Matt does all of his work. We're going to be here tomorrow. It's the crossover, Tony. You guys are going to dig that because Tony will not pull punches. Then Friday, we're going to give you the inside. What I'm looking for, what are the keys to the game, Chris's thoughts as well. Thank you for being here today. Matt, thanks for the time and setting us straight as always.
Always a pleasure. Great time, everybody.
Folks, enjoy your day today, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.